just 17 overs, pushing hard to get maximum batting points. Jacques Rudolph on 43 has been particularly quick. Andrew Gale, who's a man who's just gone for 136, caught by Chappell off the bowling of Duplessis, was also rattling along. Lancashire don't look too promising here, although that wicket may inspire them. There's a new ball available, which Stuart Law has surprisingly not elected to take. 306 for 3.
In rugby union, Sale Sharks' new boy Christian Ormsby will join up with the squad at Carrington next week. Sharks director of rugby Philippe Saint-André says he'll make at least one more signing on Monday.
BBC Radio Manchester, satellite weather with Diane Oxbury.
Well, so far so fabulous on the weather front. It really looks lovely, but I think as you go through the morning we'll start to see the cloud cover building and it might take over a little bit through the afternoon. Having said that, all things considered, this is a really nice day and I still think you'll keep quite a bit of brightness through the afternoon. The only fly in the ointment is there could be a light shower from time to time. Your top temperature, 19 Celsius.
Lunchtimes belong to Beswick.
Allan Beswick.
BBC Radio Manchester.
Hi, you all right? Oh, good. Yeah. I've kind of, sort of, perhaps nearly kept a promise. Yeah. If you go to bbc.co.uk/Manchester. You have to say that dead quick, because if you stop, you're goosed. BBC... You see? What is it? bbc.co.uk. No, I don't. It's like, what is it? I have no idea. Right, I'm going to start again. I'm going to check, first of all, what it is you've got to go to. Yeah. Here it is. Yeah, BBC. I was right. bbc.co.uk/man. There's no at. Oh, it's the at. It's the lack of an at. I don't like not having an at. bbc.co.uk/Manchester. On the front page of that, you will see, rather unfortunately, a little bit about me and the salt mine. I promised you I'd put it on there with a couple of photographs. Well, there are 3, so I lied a little bit, just for tradition, really. Anyway, it's there. So that's that. And before you get jumpy, we're correcting the typographical error that I made. Well, I say we're correcting it. Somebody's correcting it. So I don't want any smart aleck coming, hey, you made a typographical error, you made a typo. Well, all right, so I made a typo. For God's sake, I was underground, holding my breath. So we're correcting that as I speak. So have a shufty if you're that way inclined. And if you're not, well, like I care a fig. But I said I'd do it, so I've done it. So there. Do you remember? Well, you perhaps won't remember. Maybe you will. Depends how old you are, really, and whether you went to the fair. I went to the fair when I was about 10, on me own. It was walking day in Warrington, and I went to the fair, and it was in the days, it was the back end of the freak shows. This is not the Elephant Man, by any stretch of the imagination, but it was the back end of the freak shows. You know, the side shows that used to go with the travelling fair. I believe in earlier days they'd gone with the circus also. And the one I remember most was the Spotted Lady. And there was a woman, she was well, the sign, I've told you this before, but it's relevant today. I just told it because I felt like last time. But the sign above the stall said, £100 if she's not in the nude. And I thought, well, that's win-win, isn't it? It's only going to be a tanner. You either get to see her sit upon and her pointy bits, or you get £100. You can't go wrong. Come and see the Spotted Lady. So I went in to see the Spotted Lady. Well, actually, I went in to see the Spotted Lady's private bits. That's all. I wasn't really interested whether she had spots or not. I just thought I'll go and have a look at the wedding tackle, because it's on offer. It was in the advert. Well, come on, you've done it yourself. And I went in, and the Spotted Lady had some very, very, very fortunate spots. That's all I can say. One of which looked, how she got this spot, but it looked like a bikini bottom to me. And that was covering one bit. And then she did have a few dots about the place. She looked like a sort of exhibition of full stops. And then, on the pointy bits, on her bazooms, she had 2 big spots. You couldn't see a blessed thing. I was so disappointed. And when I said to the bloke, where's me 100 quid? She's not naked. He says, she is. She's just very spotty. And if you ask me that again, I'll punch you. Oh, well, that's a beggar. So I left without a punch, without 100 quid, and without the satisfaction of having something to think about in bed that night. So that was it. My tanner was wasted. But I thought, well, to hell with it. I'll go and watch a lady freeze to death. It's sort of an investment of And I went next door, another tanner, and it was the lady who spent all her day in an ice cube. Not just the one, but she did. She really did it. In great big blocks of ice. And she would lie inside this ice, again, in a bikini. So it was, you know, it was all right. I hadn't seen many of them by that stage. And I watched that. So why am I telling you? Well, I'm telling you because in those days, we thought it acceptable to look at freak shows. And it still is. In fact, we've now got it organised so that in 2012, there's going to be a huge freak show in London. We now call it the Olympic Games. The people who win Olympic medals are freaks. They are complete and utter freaks. They are no less peculiar than the spotted lady, although she was a cheat, but turns out quite a lot of the boxing is as well. The spotted lady, the lady who sleeps in an ice cube, John Merrick the Elephant Man, and the three-headed dog. They are no less freakish than that. Look at that Phelps bloke who's going to make the world record. I read all about him yesterday. Apparently, his feet go on almost backwards. Well, that's not normal. That's freakish. It's utterly freakish. You have a look at the weightlifters. What are they like? They've got muscles in their snot. They're freaks. The people who win prizes at the Olympic Games are freaks. That's it. You have a look. There was that woman yesterday who won surprisingly on a bike. And she said at one stage, I thought I was going to die. And yet she carried on pedalling the bike. She's a freak. They're all freaks. That Matthew Pinson, I've met him, he's a giant. He's a giant. If it wasn't for the Olympic Games and the fact that we live a rather more, should we say, polite lifestyle now, he'd have been in the circus. He would. He'd have been, what else was he going to do? Dirty great big heap like him, he was going to be in a freak show. And when you start to think about it, it applies to rugby players as well. They're all freaks now. When I played rugby, I just played, you know, as a boy and the like. But when I played rugby, and then played for Ormskirk and had a few games in the army and that. But when I played, there were those of us who were playing it for the love of it, and then there were the others, amateurs, in those days with rugby union, amateurs, but their whole working life was spent training, getting ready for and playing rugby. But they were still ordinary people. You know, just straightforward people like you and me, but just particularly good at a specific sport. Fair enough. But now, they're designed. They are. So I've come to the conclusion that international sport is full of freaks. The Olympic Games is a freak show.
Mornings sound better with Eamon O'Neill and Diane Oxbury.
Eamon and Diane.
It's amazing what people know, isn't it? I mean, you're full of fascinating facts, we'll call them.
I've started the car then. I was going to agree with you, obviously, and then start your car for you.
No, seriously, you do pick up a lot of information, don't you?
Well, you see, I don't have any mates, and so I find myself just standing on street corners saying, anybody want to know any trivia?
Eamon and Diane and you.
We were born in the same hospital, side by side, in different beds, our mothers. I'm 20 minutes older than him, but he's a jam site uglier than me.
Oh, obviously.
The station with Eamon and Diane for breakfast.
Hey, what a great start.
Back Monday morning at 6 at BBC Radio Manchester.
A very good day to you. Oh, here we go. Kevin says, you should have a What's She Thinking caption contest of you and Sarah Conkey. She was the producer. By the look on our face, My guess is she's thinking, why me? This is referring to the photographs, the salt mine photographs, on the front page of bbc.co.uk/Manchester. Well, why me? She's only herself to blame. It was her idea. Nothing to do with me. I don't have ideas. I'm not a producer. And if I had them, no one would pay any heed anyway. And rightly so, if I may say. Kevin says, you and me, we're wrong. Kevin says, glory be. And he says it like that. Glory be. I've seen the light. Both you and I are wrong, and there's proof. According to a report on BBC Radio Manchester last night, so it must be true, there have been prayer meetings on petrol station forecourts in America asking God to reduce the price of petrol. And guess what? It's been reduced. Proof positive that there's a God. And what I find most interesting is that he obviously approves of petrol-powered vehicles. So, he will not be voting for the congestion charge, preferring his flock to use their own vehicles. All I need do now is to ask him to reduce the cost of road tax, and perhaps if he could give us the 6 numbers in this week's lottery. Yeah, there aren't 6. Well, I suppose there aren't. Are there 6 numbers? Yes. I suppose there are 12 numbers, really. Yeah. Anyway, I know what he means. So there you are. So in America, they prayed for a reduction in the in the cost of fuel prices, and beggar me if we didn't go ahead and reduce them. So that's fantastic, that is. So well done, God, I say. It's not words you'll hear much from me, but well done, God. In fact, if you tune into Mike Shaft on Sunday morning, he's got a petrol attendant on, just by way, because petrol attendants, obviously, and now the Angels. Neil in Bevington says, what have you got against freak shows? I thought this was one. That's not funny. That's not at all funny. So, we're not pleased with that. 0161, I better give you the number. 0161 228 2255 if you wish to join us. And Radio Manchester at bbc.co.uk. And the text number is 07786 206 951. I don't understand. This morning, 2 Chinese women came second in a boat race. And David wondered if they'd have won had they worn sunglasses. I know a lot of sports people do wear sunglasses. I don't know why, and I know the point you're making, and it's not a bad one. Somebody said, why am I standing next to a sign saying salt eunuch? I'll have to look at that. I mean, the people who own the salt mines are called, I think they're called Salt Union Limited. So it's obviously you don't see the full sign on account of the bloke who's standing there isn't a full shilling, I suppose. But there you are. I've nothing more to add than that. That's all I can think of. I'll have another look at it after and see if there's a better explanation. But my guess is that there is not. So there, let's have a look. No. I'm just having a look now. Stop it. Oh, there we go. Salt, yeah, as you can see it. Salt eunuch. Salt Union. That's a caravan, it's a caravan. Well, a porter cabin, I think, is the commercial name for these things, but one of them caravan-y type cabiny things. And that's where they have a brew up and all of that. And the curtains, well, the wags down the mine have painted curtains on it. And frankly, I think it looks rather fetching, particularly with that bloke leaning against it. More serious stuff. Ted in Moston says, I have some very strong opinions. Yeah, no doubt. I have some very strong opinions on human rights. If our society is better than murderers, then we would eliminate them. I do not believe in universal human rights. The innocent have rights, but if you violate someone else's rights, then you forfeit your own. Holly Wells and Jessica Chapman had the right to avoid being murdered by Ian Huntley. By keeping him alive, we are degrading ourselves as a civilization. If someone breaks into your home with the intent to deprive you of your property by any means up to and including murder, you have the right to kill that individual. I would be willing to literally work prisoners convicted of serious crimes to death, and the product of their labour should be given to society in the form of civil engineering projects such as roads or coastal defence walls. That's Ted in Moston, with some strong, trenchant views on human rights or otherwise. What are yours? 0161 228 2255. We're going to talk to Carol in Warrington shortly. But before that, at just after 12:20, the BBC Radio Manchester news headlines with Faye Rusco.
Greater Manchester Police has met just 3 of its 17 targets for reducing crime in the first quarter of 2008. Detectives are continuing to question 3 men from Lancashire arrested on suspicion of terror offences. 2 were arrested at Manchester Airport. And the company responsible for long delays in marking thousands of SATS papers has had its contract terminated. Manchester's weather cloudier this afternoon with the odd shower, highs of 19 Celsius.
BBC Radio Manchester 2020 traffic.
If you're travelling on the M6 southbound, traffic's queuing up because of an accident between Knutsford Services and Junction 18 at Middlewich, with congestion all the way back now to 21A at Croft. The vehicles were quickly moved to the hard shoulder. Police are still in attendance at the scene and recovery vehicles are still en route. Delays present on the A34 as well through Alderley Edge on Wilmslow Road, around the junction with Riley's Lane, caused by roadworks in the immediate area. Don't forget though, if you can update me further, call in on 0161 244 4951. I'm Carl Banks.
Decongesting Manchester, one car at a time. 2020 traffic.
BBC Radio Manchester.
The thing about sitting here every day, I love it, as you know. I've mentioned it many times. I absolutely love it. But one of the things I like most about it is it reassures me. I'll read this to you. I'm going to get to Carol in a moment. I'll read you this. Hi, Alan, says Stephen. Contrary to your earlier email about proof positive that God because he'd lowered the petrol prices following prayers, let me explain why I have proof positive that there is a God. As a divorced man, I've prayed many times to God for a plague of locusts to befall my ex. Locust being in short supply, God chose to have her knocked over by a bus. Again, proof positive that he approves of public transport and is therefore for the congestion charge. And what reassurance do I get from that? Well, I am reassured that I am not, as many people have suggested, the cruelest, wickedest and most distasteful person on the planet. I run a close second to Stephen, I'll grant you, but I'm not the worst. 0161 228 2255. Well, there it is. There's the... It's out there now. We can't escape it. If Jesus was alive, do you think he would vote for or against the congestion charge?
Talking sense every lunchtime. Allan Beswick and you.
BBC Radio Manchester.
Carol in Warrington. Hello, Carol.
Hi, Alan. I'm just ringing because I got a letter yesterday from the local authority, and basically what they've done is someone from the highway has been down the street and written a letter to everyone that's got double gates and not got a drop curb. And we've all got letters saying that we have to have a drop curb to get onto our property. And I just wondered if there was anything that we could do about it, because there's so many in the street that don't have a drop curb, and we put the cars in the drive or, you know, under the windows so that they don't get damaged. And the people that don't have a drop curb park on the curb, halfway on the curb permanently anyway.
Well, I have only one answer. And that is, yes, there's something you can do, get a dropped curb.
Right.
The reason being that you're actually driving over somebody else's property illegally.
Right.
The footpath outside and the curb outside doesn't belong to you. Probably the land under it does, but that's to a large extent an irrelevance. You are required to have a dropped curb, and that will cost you money. Now, the council may permit you to put in your own. They could insist on doing it with one of their contractors, which would cost you many, many thousands of pounds.
Right.
But there isn't much of a way round it. Now, it might be a simple procedure thing. It might be one of those things, if you do nothing, it'll go away. But what might happen is they might refuse you the right to cross the footpath, and you could end up committing an offence by simply putting your car in your driveway.
Right.
But they do have the right, I'm afraid, to say that you need permission to cross their territory, and they're entitled to put conditions on that permission. The condition being that you put a dropped curb in, which means that their curb will not be damaged.
Right.
Because, daft as it sounds, when you drive up the curb, you damage it. Now, it takes an awful lot of drives, as it were, an awful lot of journeys across it, but damage is done. It's not designed for that.
Right, OK, because apparently one of the other neighbours rang up and spoke to them. I haven't yet. I just thought I'd ring you and see, basically, if it was a case of pay up and shut up or whatever. And they said that they were starting in our area, but they were doing all the rest of Warrington too. Right.
All right, so I'm afraid they've got all the best cards.
Right.
All right, love, sorry.
All right, thank you anyway.
Have a good day. 0161 228 2255. What have you got to say for yourself today? So it's official, says Derek in Lee. The North is knackered. So long, and thanks for all the coal, steel and cotton. Now, if you wouldn't mind just lying down and dying, there's a good chap. I don't know about moving south, though. Further north to Scotland is a better idea. What with the scenery, the space, and the Jock government tendency to look after their own a bit better than ours. Now, if they could just get their hands on the oil revenue, they believe they're owed. That's Derek in Lee, commenting on the suggestion by what is always described as a right-wing think tank close to the Conservative Party. But we then add to that, however, the Conservative Party, in the form of David Cameron, has distanced itself and called the report balmy. But Derek Inley is commenting on the balmy report that people in the north should move south if they want to improve their lives. Which is not that bad advice, really. I hesitate. I mean, you will improve your financial life. You'll have to live amongst a load of bloody southerners, but hey, come on. You know, we put up with worse things than that, don't we, in life? But you do. You need to move. If you live in an area when unemployment is high, and there's another area where unemployment is low, then you need to move. That's it. It sucks. It stinks. It's against all the traditions. But Manchester is the product of that. Manchester is the product of that. Without the Industrial Revolution, you wouldn't have the Manchester we've got now. There'd probably still be a community here, but it wouldn't be like the one we've got. And why is Manchester, or why did Manchester become the centre of the Industrial Revolution? Well, there are all sorts of reasons of why. Clean water for a start, water pressure, and all sorts of other things. But the reason Manchester is the city it is because an awful lot of people moved here for work. Exactly. They moved here to work. They moved here to work in the factories. Now, they lived in middens, many of them. They lived in appalling conditions. For them, possibly not as appalling as they appear to us, because they'd previously lived in hovels in the countryside, so it wasn't quite as bad in terms of comparison to what they'd left. But it was still pretty vile. Pretty vile. But they all moved. They moved because this is where the work was. This is where the rich people were prepared to invest their money. So people moved here. You can't criticise somebody who says, if you've got no money and there's some money over there, then bloody well walk over there and get it, can you?
Lunchtimes belong to Beswick.
Allan Beswick. BBC Radio Manchester.
Graham in Ashton-under-Lyne. Hiya, Graham.
Hiya. Are you okay?
I'm very well, Ty.
It's a grand day, isn't it?
Well, I don't know, I'm in here.
Oh, yeah. I'm doing the same. I'm actually doing a bit of volunteer work at the moment. Yeah.
Bloody near volunteer work here, mate, but go on.
Yeah, what it is, I've noticed, I've just had a gas bill, and I've noticed that the formula that they use from changing your gas units to kilowatt hours has changed. There's what they call the calorific value, and that has changed from my last bill to this bill. And I was just wondering whether they can actually do that.
I would guess that they can.
Would you?
The issue...
Right.
Blimey. Without looking at the calculations, I wouldn't be able to... And then I'd need a calculator and a Philadelphia lawyer. But I suspect they can. All they're doing is changing the conversion rate. But presumably... It's like if you go to the petrol station today...
Yeah.
And petrol is sold at £2 a litre, and you go tomorrow and they've reverted to gallons, then providing you get the same amount for your £2, no harm's been done.
Yeah. Yeah, I was just wondering, because it's what they call a calorific value or something.
Yeah.
And that's part of the, the formula they use to change to kilowatt hours.
Yeah.
And like I said, they've increased that. But the other thing is, I'm on one of these frozen tariffs, till 2010. So I'm wondering if they can actually do that to me,
Well, they providing... I mean, again, the answer's yes, they can change the way they calculate it.
Yeah.
What they can't do, if you've got a contractual guarantee at a rate of purchase, as it were, this much gas for this much money, they can't change that, because if they did change that, they would be in breach of contract.
Yeah.
And if they merely changed the the method of processing the bill in a way that made them better off, then I suspect off gas would have something to say to them.
Right.
Because that's, if you like, a mathematical, sneaky way of increasing charges.
It is, isn't it? Yeah.
And they wouldn't bother, given that they've just announced we're putting them up by £12 million. They won't give a toss about the calculation, would they?
No. As I say, I'm on this price protection to 2010, I'd probably send a little letter to Off-Gas. I have been on the phone, but it was a young lady, and I got something like saying that, well, we can do that, So, obviously... they probably can do like that. I just thought with it being a formula, how can they change a formula to convert?
Well, they can. They can. They can change the method they use. I mean, it sounds daft, but if you go back to the garage and petrol, and if they decide to sell it to you in litres instead of gallons, then they're going to change the formula to work out how much you pay.
Yep.
But you'll still pay the same. That's the issue.
Yeah.
Now, I don't trust garages for it to be the same, and like you, I don't trust the gas board either.
No.
But there are people watching over it who I suspect would have something to say if the change of the calculation meant that the price ultimately paid was different.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, right. So it's a sneaky way, isn't it?
Well, it's we hope it's not a sneaky way.
Yeah.
We rather hope that it is just a straightforward, different way of calculating things.
Right.
My question would always be, why are they changing it? What's the next step?
Yeah. Right, thanks very much.
Have a good one, Graham. 0161 228 2255. Mike in Stalybridge. Hiya, Mike.
Hiya, Alan. How are you?
I'm very well.
I'd just like to pass a comment about the Russian business, the incursion into Georgia.
Please do.
And the attitude of our government in condemning it. I think they must have very convenient memories. We're the country that illegally invaded Iraq. We're still there. We're the country that tacitly supported the slaughter in Lebanon by Israel by allowing the munitions to come through our airfields, Brize Norton and Lynham, etc. I just find it quite amazing that they've got the gall to stand there and say we condemn illegal actions when it's exactly what we've done ourselves.
I don't know what to say to you, other than we're talking about diplomacy here, and diplomacy has never, ever been an honourable process. And it can't be, really, because governments have to be duplicitous, because the only alternative, honesty... And
we'd get sacked.
they wouldn't last long. Yes, they wouldn't last long if they said, well, actually, our plan is. I pointed in no direction of any party, but our plan is to get in there and to stitch you all up and keep the money for ourselves.
That's right.
No one would say that because it just doesn't garner votes.
What prompted me to ring the other night, I caught the tail end of you talking with a chap, I think it was a recording, who was saying because we're a democratic country, we have the right to go anywhere and take any country over.
Yes,
we should attack
did,
Russia. It was very, very homophobic. Xenophobic.
It might have been the other, he never mentioned it, but perhaps the other's the wrong word, but yeah, he was indeed very
illegal. It's not compulsory yet.
Yeah, no, not yet.
But I found his attitude absolutely amazing, and it's amazing how many people like that kill all Muslims because of what they did at 9/11. I mean, I've got a friend who's just come back from Iraq, and I said, aren't you bothered about being there? He said, well, they carried out 9/11. I said, no, you got your geography wrong. It was everyone who was involved in 9/11 was from Saudi Arabia.
But, it's an unfair question, really, to put to a squaddie.
It is.
Because a squaddie just volunteers to do what the government wants him to do.
I was just asking him for his own honest opinion. He's a friend of mine. And other squaddies, I mean, I know that the Army have got a hell of a lot of deserters who won't go to Iraq, and that the TA units and the Army units recruiting is well down. And most of them honestly say, I don't know why we're there. I mean, we're not doing anything there now anyway. We're just sitting in the airfield waiting for the Americans to tell us to leave.
Well, all of that may be so, but frankly, you get into a bigger version of politics. If we hadn't supported the Americans going into Iraq, we would have some severe difficulty should we ever need the Americans to come to our aid. And,
I don't doubt it.
And history tells us that we do from time to time need that. First World War, Second World War, or
they
World War
didn't come to our aid. They only joined the war when they were attacked themselves. Let's get it right.
It doesn't matter how you read the politics.
No, I know what you mean.
You would be speaking German or Russian if America hadn't.
Yeah.
So whether they did it for their own ends, of course they did.
Right.
The reason they went to Iraq is their own ends. The reason we went to Iraq was our own ends. The reason.
OIL.
The reason. Well, yeah. But that flies in the face of the argument about Russia, because we would be well advised in some respects to keep our mouth shut and let Russia do, because our gas and oil supplies
comes from Russia. And
but
Georgia has a pipeline, that's why America's interested.
Indeed. But what has happened in the past, and it happened in the past 12 months, Georgia has got grumpy and done something, and so Russia has said, you're not having... I think it was Georgia... Russia said that Georgia owed them a pack of money.
Yeah.
So they said, right, well, we're not selling gas to Georgia until they pay up, so we're turning the tap off, which is all very well, but that tap also comes out at this end.
Yeah.
So we would be better off if Georgia didn't exist and was absorbed into Russia. We'd be better off, because we deal with the Russians and the pipeline's all on their territory.
Yeah.
So we'd be better off. So the government saying Russia don't do that is actually, although, as you say, historically somewhat disingenuous, from the point of view of the best thing to do for us, perhaps they should say, get in there, kill the lot of them, we want our gas.
Just going back to the original point on that, I do find it, you must have some neck after what we've done to Iraq to stand up and condemn another country, though. I mean, don't they realise that people have got good memories?
People haven't got good memories.
No, probably not.
They haven't. When the chips are down, we would throw ourselves on the fire for the government. We've seen it so often. I mean, why is it that working class men are prepared to get bits blown off their body to keep the ruling classes in comfort?
I agree with that entirely. That I find it hard to understand.
I don't understand it.
I find it hard to understand people saying, I've always voted Labour, so I always will, when parties over this century have changed completely beyond recognition. This party now bears no resemblance to the Labour Party that started out to help working people.
Listen, I discuss politics with my father occasionally. I used to discuss them with him a lot more. And when the Liberals first began their insurgence, and I think it was Jeremy Thorpe, wasn't it?
Yeah.
They came back up, and I spoke to him about the Liberals, and his only comment was, the Liberals turned the guns on the miners.
Yeah.
And I thought, that's what you call a memory, that. But people are like that. Because politics, they're supposed to stand for things. And when you ask people why do they vote Labour when they're no different to the Tories, well, I'm not making that case. I'm just saying when you ask someone, they say, well, if I'm going to get ripped off, I'd rather get ripped off by one of us. It's an extraordinary thought.
Just one last thing, Alan. At the next election, I've made my mind up. I'm an ex-miner. I worked in the pits when I was a young lad. And traditionally, my father was a socialist. I've always had socialist leanings. I'm going to vote for any leader who shows who uses any semblance of the truth, because they're hard to find.
Well, you won't be busy, will you?
No.
Mike, have a good day, Mike.
Thank you very much.
You clearly won't be voting in the next election. Have a good day. It's just gone 22-1 on BBC Radio Manchester. News headlines, Faye Rusco.
Greater Manchester Police has met just 3 of its 17 targets for reducing crime in the first quarter of 2008. Detectives are continuing to question 3 men from Lancashire arrested on suspicion of terror offences. 2 were arrested at Manchester Airport. And there are big delays on the M25 near Heathrow, where a Fathers for Justice protester has climbed on top of a gantry over the motorway. Police have closed a number of the lanes going anti-clockwise. Manchester's weather cloudy this afternoon with the odd shower, highs of 19 Celsius.
BBC Radio Manchester 2020 traffic.
Well, if you're heading on the M6 at the moment, traffic's still looking fairly slow, I'm afraid, around junction 19 at Knutsford through towards 18 Middlewich. The congestion on camera all the way back to junction 21A at Croft on the southbound after 4 vehicles collided. They were all very quickly moved to the hard shoulder, but it's still slowing down past the scene. Police and recovery teams are in attendance. If you're using the M60, not much going on really, all fairly quiet from junction 8 all the way around towards junction 12 at the Eccles interchange, moving at a nice steady speed on the anti-clockwise and clockwise sides of the carriageway. And no major issues to report on public transport. If, of course, you know different, do call in if you can on the travel line, and the number's 0161 244 4951. I'm Cara Banks.
BBC Radio Manchester Sports with Will Perry.
Good afternoon. Manchester United striker Wayne Rooney will be fit to face Newcastle for the Premier League opener on Sunday. Sir Alex Ferguson's confirmed that Rooney will be available for selection after recovering from a virus he picked up on the tour of Nigeria 2 weeks ago. Meanwhile, Fergie feels the Reds have been handicapped by the fixture list as they aim to retain the Premier League trophy. He's angry at the amount of times his side will have to play away from home following midweek Champions League games. Meanwhile, United have set their sights on becoming the first side to retain the Champions League. Midfielder Darren Fletcher has told BBC Radio Manchester that's just one of the goals they've set themselves ahead of the Premier League kick-off this weekend.
The hunger is definitely around the squad, and the manager said that he'll make sure that all of us have still got that hunger. We want to do things that no other team's done. No one's ever defended the Champions League. That's a challenge in itself. To win the Premiership 3 times in a row, we know it's going to be difficult, but with the big squad we've got, there'll be so much competition for places that we'll push each other on.
Manchester City manager Mark Hughes has told BBC Radio Manchester that he won't give up on bringing Roque Santa Cruz to Eastlands. Blackburn turned down an offer from City for their striker yesterday, and Hughes is determined to get his man with Benjani, Darius Vassell and Ched Evans all struggling, and Joe on Olympic duty with Brazil. Bolton boss Gary Megson says reaching 40 points is their main target for the season. Wanderers finished on 37 last year, only 1 clear of the drop zone.
The short-term aim is to try and beat Stoke on Saturday. The long-term aim, hopefully it's short rather than long, but we want to get to 40 points as quickly as we can, and if we can do that, then we reassess from that point onwards, but not until then, because if you look last year, we didn't even manage that.
Well, Bolton begin the season against Megson's former club Stoke at the Reebok tomorrow. Striker Heide Helgeson has been ruled out with a hernia problem. Wigan manager Steve Bruce hasn't ruled out a top 10 finish for his team this season, having invested in the squad again. That was the target set by his chairman Dave Whelan, and Bruce thinks it's possible.
Bolton and Blackburn have done it in less fashionable clubs, as you say, no disrespect to them. They've done it over the years. Why not? Why not could it be a Wigan? We've got some good players, and we did very, very well the back end of last season. Can we produce that again and get players playing at their maximum?
Well, on day 7 at the Olympics, Great Britain have won their 3rd gold medal this afternoon. Manchester-based trio Chris Hoy, Jamie Staff and Jason Kenny have beaten France in the men's team sprint in Beijing. Meanwhile, in the qualifying round of cycling's individual pursuit, Bradley Wiggins has broken his own Olympic record. Team GB are guaranteed another 2 medals. In sailing's Finn class, Ben Ainsley will win at least silver, as will the women's Yingling team. Britain have 10 boats in this weekend's rowing finals after victories for the unbeaten men's lightweight double sculls and lightweight 4. And in the qualifying round of cycling's individual pursuit, Manchester-based Bradley Wiggins, as I mentioned, has broken his own Olympic record. All 3 of the world's fastest men qualified, as expected, for the second round of the 100 metres. World record holder Usain Bolt, Asifa Powell and Tyson Gay have joined Britain's Tyrone Edgar, who posted the quickest time of the heats. Kelly Sotherton's 5th after 2 events in the heptathlon, and Paula Radcliffe says she's stronger than the 2004 Olympics going into tomorrow night's marathon in Beijing. And America's Michael Phelps' extraordinary attempt to win 8 gold medals in the pool is firmly on track. He broke another world record in winning his 6th gold, the 200 metres individual medley. Live to Old Trafford, it's the final day of Lancashire's Roses match with Yorkshire in the county championship. Not long ago to go until lunch. Chris Malaband, please bring us some good news.
Well, Lancashire have at least taken some wickets this morning, Will, but Yorkshire will be pleased with their progress. 342 for 5, the White Rose, so they lead by 111 runs. They have got 16 overs left to get the 58 runs they need to collect maximum batting points. Lancashire, though, have picked up 1 bowling point this morning in taking those 5 wickets. Francois Duplessis has been Lancashire's man of the morning. He's picked up the wickets of Gale for 136, caught by Chappell in the deep, and Jacques Rudolph, his close friend, caught behind by Luke Sutton for 54. He also ran out Adam Lyde with a sharp bit of work from backward point for just 1. But in the match situation, Lancashire are going to need to put their backs to the wall this afternoon to avoid a defeat. Adil Rashid will be licking his lips, seeing how much turn fellow leg spinner Duplessis is getting today, because when Yorkshire declare, they're going to have a lead of about 170, and that's going to give Lancashire 1 or 2 awkward sessions. 343 for 5.
Thanks, Chris. More from him this afternoon. In rugby union, Sale Sharks new boy Christian Ormsby will join up with the squad at Carrington next week. Sharks director of rugby Philippe Saint-André says he'll make one last signing on Monday. In rugby league, Wigan Warriors will give a late fitness test to standoff half Trent Barrett ahead of tonight's Super League game with Wakefield Trinity. Kick-off is 8 o'clock. Full commentary in Manchester Sports from 7. And finally, Manchester Phoenix have signed Canadian right winger Kyle Bruce from Wicket to Thunder.
This is the Northwest's biggest sports station.
BBC Radio Manchester. The Premier League.
Manchester United are champions. What a boost that is for Wigan Athletics. That could be a priceless goal for Bolton Wanderers. The new season starts.
The Premier League starts tomorrow. The all-new Manchester Sports. Tomorrow from 1.
BBC Radio Manchester.
Isn't it reassuring to read that City are still crap? No, it is, isn't it? Anyway, it's getting on for... No, I don't profess to know. I just know they got beat 1-0 last night. It's getting on for 10-1 on BBC. What is Yingling? What is Yingling? The Yingling team. I was convinced. Surely Yingling, if you do that too much, you go blind, don't you? What is Yingling? No idea. And I said earlier that I thought that Phelps Waller was a freak. And it turns out I'm not alone. Not at all. OK, he's not the most reliable source, but Keith in Blackpool says it had to be said, Alan. It had to be said. A lot of us thought it. I was watching a bit about Phelps last night. He is a freak. He's got extra big feet, very bendy ankles, short legs and long arms in relation to his body. Some woman said only one of these comes along in every generation. And if it can't swim, we put it down. That's Keith in Blackpool. Well, come on. He's a freak. Not Keith, I don't know him. I've some suspicions anyway, but never mind. And Chris says, why did you choose swimming as a means of keeping fit rather than running, cycling or some other activity? Really, because it's low impact. Do you know what I mean? So running, that does for your knees and your back and all that gubbins. And cycling, well... I don't really enjoy cycling much. I've got a bike. I used to ride it, and I suppose occasionally would do a game, but I've never found cycling interesting. They say you see a lot more countryside than walking. Well, you do, but if you watch it too much, you drive into a tree or you're hit by a truck or something. But I don't really enjoy cycling. No, I don't enjoy swimming that much, but it's easy. You can do it every day. It's dead easy. It's organised, regulated and low impact. And then he says, could you tell us a little bit about your working day? I don't have to. You can hear it. I'm on here. 2 hours. That's it. That's my working day. That's all I do. Preparation for the programme, reading the papers. That's it. And what's it like in the studio during the day? Well, I'm on here for 2 hours of it, but for these 2 hours it's quiet and peaceful and happy. Christopher in Hayfield. So that's it. Is it? I know it sounds boring. I should have tried to build up my part there, but frankly, I couldn't think of a way of doing it. Mike says it's not Russian gas that comes through the pipes in Georgia. It's from Kazakhstan. Okay. When quite a few people on our street... So, this will be good for Carol if you still... Make a note of it, Carol. But when quite a few people on our street had to have their curbs dropped at the same time, Alan, we managed to negotiate it at a cut price with the council. It was only a couple of £100 apiece. That's Ben in Rochdale. Compare that to Paul in Oldham, not far away from Rochdale. Alan, it cost me £600 for the curb to be lowered by the council. It's even more if there's a tree in the way. So there you are. That's the answer, Carol, possibly. Get in touch with your neighbours. You say that the council are doing all of them. Well, get in touch with your neighbours and negotiate a job lot. It's likely to be cheaper. That's the best we can offer you, I'm afraid. 0161 228 2255, Radio Manchester at bbc.co.uk, and you can text 07786 206 951, and as I say every day, you can talk about everything and anything. We don't mind. You pick the subjects and we wander through the undergrowth of our minds to see where it leads us. Henry in Prestbury. So, a stolen car crashes in Cheadle, as reported on your news, and the occupants killed. What a terrible waste of the emergency services time. Police, fire and ambulances, which could have been used elsewhere instead of attending a stolen car crash. If an ambulance is called to an accident where the car isn't stolen but legally owned and insured, the service can claim back the cost off the insurer. But who pays for this? I find statements associated with this incident incredulous and indicative of today's selfish society. Would they still have the same opinion of them being good lads, caring lads, if they'd wiped out a family of 5, innocently travelling along this road, returning from a pleasant family day outing? My sympathies to the emergency crews who had to deal with this incident. And I hope the family whose house this car crashed into do not suffer financially. Well, they shouldn't suffer financially. The Insurers Bureau thing should protect them from that. But I do despair. I really do despair, like you, Henry, with the idea that some kid steals a car, gets killed, and then his parents say, well, he was a good, caring lad. No, he wasn't. He was a stinking bloody thief, and you should be ashamed of yourselves as parents. And frankly, one dead robber means nothing to me. I can live with a lot of dead robbers, thank you very much, if indeed it was a stolen car. There's a tree I pass almost every day. Don't know if I've heard. No, there's a tree I drive past almost every day, and there's a sign on there with the name of the kid who ploughed into it and killed himself in a stolen car. And I look at it, and I suspect the people who put it there think, well, it's a memory to him. I look at it and think, by the bloody hell, I'm glad he's dead.
Allan Beswick, BBC Radio Manchester.
On the subject of the emergency services, well, that's what they're for. That's what they're for, and can't really do much about that. I kind of agree that they should turn out, and I'm quite happy to pay for it. 0161 228 2255. I'm not homophobic, as that caller implies. I assume he's referring to me. Thank you for that. Fair enough. The difference between our invasion of Iraq and Russia's invasion of Georgia is that Iraq was under the yoke of an evil dictatorship. Any free or semi-free country has the right to invade such a country. That doesn't necessarily mean they should, but just that they can. Well, what do you mean they can? I mean, I don't want to pick up on grammar, but do you mean they can, or do you mean that they should be permitted to? You say they should invade, or they have the right to invade. Well, I don't know. What do you mean by that? That sentence leaves me confused. This doesn't apply to Russia because they're not free or even semi-free. In fact, they've invaded a country that's on the road to a semi-free state. Well, Georgia isn't a semi-free state. Georgia isn't innocent in this. Georgia is not an innocent state who was quietly sitting there with a properly elected president minding its own business in its quiet little democracy. Georgia is, I'm afraid, a bully that got its arse kicked. That's what happened there. Georgia is a bully that got its arse kicked.
Allan Beswick with you on the phones.
0161 228 2255.
BBC Radio Manchester.
I'm neither for nor against the action that the Russia took, but I'm not falling over myself wondering about the poor Georgian government. Oh, hey up, Keith in Blackpool. Hey up, Beswick, where's this pic then? Is there a secret link? Has it gone? Didn't stay long, did it? It's there, it's on the net, I've just looked at it. Or maybe have they taken it off to do the typo? No, it's there. I'll tell you where it is again, because you're obviously pressing the wrong buttons, you divvy. bbc.co.uk/Manchester. And then you sort of waggle your way down it and you see Beswick in the Gulag. That's what it says. I don't know why it says that. Beswick in the Gulag. So just do that. And I love the way... I've just noticed this. Whoever put it on there has blanked out, like they do. They've blanked out the registration number of the van. It's 150 metres underground, Richard. Nobody's going to nick it. Oh, dear, dear, dear. BBC policy rules, OK. 0161 228 2255. Kevin says, about these two car thieves that got killed. I told you earlier today there's a God. If my car is ever stolen, I hope the outcome is the same. Well, Kevin, if my car's ever stolen, I hope they don't wrap it round a tree or anything else. I hope it comes back in one piece. If they, of course, died of a heart attack after they left my car, I wouldn't be that bothered. Caller says, read the name of the lad on the tree. He was a passenger, not the driver. Well, that depends, first of all, on which tree we're talking about. And if it's the tree I think you're talking about, yes, he was the passenger. What was he a passenger in? If I remember correctly, a stolen car. Now, if my mate turns up with a brand new car, I say, hiya, Jimmy, where'd you get this? And he says, get in quick, for God's sake, come on! I haven't got all day, the cops are after us. I get a clue that he hasn't just bought it at the auction. So, driver, passenger, if they're all in there, frankly, the finger's pointed just the same. 0161 228 2255. How say you? And no, I don't believe in state-organised corporal punishment, but if somebody dies or is killed in the pursuance of their crime and killed by circumstance, then, frankly, I'm not bothered. I don't get upset. We can manage without quite a lot of the people in our society, to be honest. Kevin says, if Jesus had his own car, because I did ask, flippantly, I may add, but there's nothing wrong with flippancy. It's breaded my butter more than once. If Jesus had his own car, I asked, if Jesus was alive today, would he vote for or against the congestion charge? Somebody says he's alive today, he wouldn't live round here, he'd have gone down south where the money is. Anyway, if Jesus had his own car, says Kevin, he wouldn't have to carry that big lump of wood up the hill on his shoulders. Could have dragged it up. I know about dragged up, there's a few round our way where... Oh, never mind. It was almost a joke. And having a dropped curb installed at the entrance to your property effectively gives you a permanent parking place at that spot. If anyone parks on it, blocking access to your property, they can be fined and or towed away at great expense to them. Coming from the other view, everyone that does that in the street with limited parking is restricting the parking available to the rest of the street. Yes, I know that no one's entitled to a parking space on the roads. Yes, I know that using the word fined is wrong. Yeah, we are not so pedantry to point such things out.
Tonight from 7, join me, Jack Dearden, live at the JJB for commentary on Wigan Warriors against Wakefield Trinity.
And there it is. 0161 228 2255. Radio Manchester at bbc.co.uk. And of course you can text 07786 206 951.
95.1 FM, DAB Digital Radio, and the World Wide Web. This is Manchester. BBC Radio Manchester.
At 1 o'clock, police continue to question 3 men arrested in the northwest over terror offences, and tributes are paid to 2 men who died in a stolen car in Cheadle-Hulme.
Wayne Rooney is ready for the start of the season.
Well, this afternoon we're going to see that familiar combination of sunshine and showers. Top temperatures 19 Celsius.
And traffic's still queuing at the moment, southbound on the M6 between 20 at Lymm and junction 18 Middlewich.
Good afternoon, I'm Faye Rusco. Police are searching 2 houses in Blackburn this lunchtime after 3 men from East Lancashire were arrested on suspicion of committing terrorist offences. 2 of them were detained at Manchester Airport, the other in Accrington. Neighbours to one of the houses have been giving their reaction.
They're all right people. I mean, they've never been in trouble before with anybody. A law-abiding family. Never been in trouble whatsoever. Normal everyday lads, behaving normally for the past God knows how many years. Normal everyday thing nowadays. You hear about raids all over the place now. You just sort of get used to them, won't you? It's part of life, and that's it's a post 9/11 for you, isn't it?
2 young men have lost their lives after their stolen car crashed in Cheadle-Hulme near Stockport.
Don't ever do anything like that. Ever do anything like that. I've told them so many times, and people just don't listen to you.
That's one of the 2 men's uncles. The 2 who died have been named locally as Rick Lloyd and Gareth McMahon, both 20. The stolen car overturned and smashed into a car and a caravan parked on a driveway early this morning.
He was a brilliant lad, absolutely brilliant lad. He just fell in with the wrong crowd really at the end of the day.
Greater Manchester Police have admitted they are seriously concerned that the force has only met 3 of 17 targets for reducing crime in the first quarter of this year. They didn't get within 10% of their targets in 7 areas, among them burglary, serious violent crime and serious sexual crime. The chair of the police authority, Councillor Paul Murphy, said they were an unacceptably poor set of results. The company responsible for long delays in marking this year's SATs in England has had its contract terminated. Thousands of students are still waiting for their results. ETS Europe has been sharply criticised by parents and schools who've also questioned the quality of the marking. Most of the schools in Rochdale are still waiting for their English results. Terry Piggott is the town's Director of Children's Services.
I mean, in a sense, this is a sort of accident waiting to happen, isn't it? You know, if you're going to test every 14-year-old in the country and give them several test papers and then expect to get them all sent in, redistributed to markers, back again, moderated, all added up, then I don't think it's surprising when things go wrong.
There are big delays on the M25 near Heathrow, where a protester has climbed on top of a gantry over the motorway. Police have closed a number of the lanes as they try to persuade Jeffrey Hibbert from Fathers for Justice to make his way down. Mr. Hibbert, who's dressed as Batman, spoke to the BBC from his perch above the traffic.
I'm doing this for my daughter. I'm fighting illegal custody battle with my daughter behind closed doors. The courts need to open them doors to prove what women are like towards their children.
And the release of the next Harry Potter film has been put back by 8 months. It was meant to come out in November. The decision to delay has created disappointment among charities who were hoping to benefit from a royal premiere performance.
BBC Radio Manchester Sports with Bill Wright.
The Manchester United striker Wayne Rooney will be fit to face Newcastle on Sunday. Sir Alex Ferguson has confirmed the striker will be available for selection after recovering from the virus he picked up on the pre-season tour Tour of Nigeria. Cyclists Jamie Staff, Jason Kenny and Chris Hoy have won Britain's third gold at the Olympic Games. The Manchester-based trio were in scintillating form as they eclipsed France in the team sprint. In the qualifying round of the cycling individual pursuit, Britain's Bradley Wiggins broke his own Olympic record. Live to Old Trafford now, it's the final day of Lancashire's Roses match with Yorkshire. BBC Radio Manchester's Chris Malaband is there.
Lunch on the final day here at Old Trafford. 355 for 6 Yorkshire. They lead Lancashire by 124 runs and require another 45 runs off the next 11 overs to take full batting bonus points. Francois Duplessis with 2 wickets and a run out, the star for Lancashire this morning. They've picked up a couple of bowling points in the process, but it's going to need to be a backs-to-the-wall effort from Lancashire this afternoon to avoid a defeat. 355 for 6 Yorkshire.
And Wigan Warriors will give a late fitness test to standoff half Trent Barrett ahead of tonight's Super League game with Wakefield Trinity.
BBC Radio Manchester satellite weather with Heather Stotts.
Well, as we go through this afternoon, we are still going to see some sunny intervals, but these will gradually fade as we get cloud pushing in from the west, and that cloud is going to bring us 1 or 2 scattered showers, although, as is the very nature of showers, you may be lucky and you may dodge them altogether and end up with a dry afternoon. Top temperatures today, 19 Celsius.
Allan Beswick with you on the phones. 0161 228 2255.
BBC Radio Manchester.
Are you all right? Good. 0161 228 2255. Radio Manchester at bbc.co.uk and text 07786 206 951. That's it. That's how easy we've made it. Can we just clear up the mess from yesterday? Paul in West Horton. The main difference between Great Britain and the UK is evident when one uses the full name of the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland. You see? See what they're saying there? The United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland. Great Britain being the biggest bit, as we got to yesterday, mainland, as it were, England, Scotland, Wales, Anglesey, Isle of Wight, Lindisfarne, Hebrides, Gubbins. Yeah. So, United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland. See? It's another bit. OK? The Isle of Man is not part of the UK, says Paul. Nor, indeed, part of the EU. We could go on forever listing things that the Isle of Man's not part of. But those two are relevant, so we'll stop there. Tributes on the news to car thieves. What is the country coming to? How about the poor beggars whose car was stolen, or the owners of the car they crashed into? It would appear that the criminals are taking over the asylum. That's Steve in Widnes. Well, it's not a tribute, is it? All we're doing is saying this is what happened and this is what the people have said. It's our job to bring you the information. What you then do with it is up to you. Tom in Denton. Hiya, Tom.
Hello there. It's a query, really, whether it's true or not. I'm taking tablets, and they change the tablets now and again, so I get some tablets that I don't use. Now, the chap comes and delivers them because I'm getting on a bit, and I said, there's some that I don't want anymore. Oh, he said, they only throw them in the bin. So I thought, well, that's sheer waste, because they haven't been opened. But is it a policy, that?
Yeah, definitely.
Well, what about them that are about £3,000 a week? Do they throw them away?
No, because they're not stupid enough to not take the doctor's orders and take the tablets they're given. But there you are. The doctor doesn't give you medicine because he's an idiot. He doesn't give you medicine.
I appreciate that.
But you think you know better than him, Tom?
No.
Yes, you do.
No, I don't.
He gives me some tablets, but I don't take them. What do you think he's giving them you for?
I'm saying he alters the tablets.
Well,
he alters them. He gives me the other tablets.
Right, so they change and you're left with the old
Surplus,
stuff.
yeah.
Right, that's fine, good, because I was about to shout at you.
Well, I'm shouting at you.
Well, you join my mother in a queue of thousands, Tom. but the reason they do that is because they cannot guarantee that they've not been tampered with. And that's not pointing the finger at you, because they'd have to employ someone. Well, it's Tom's, he's all right, but that Allan Beswick sent them back. We don't trust that bugger. So they just say, no, when we get them back, from whoever we get them back, we destroy them.
But it sounds waste of money, that.
It's a lot better.
Thousands of pounds are going to waste.
Well, when you open your tablets, the ones that have replaced, and you take one, and it nearly kills you, because it's one of the ones they sent back that someone had begged about with, would you still think, well, at least they saved some money?
Well, it won't bother me because I'm 83, so...
Well, when I asked my dad, who's 85, I think it is, when I asked my dad, what's your ambition when he's 85, he said 86. Exactly. So it won't bother you, and I think it might. But more importantly, it might bother if you snuff it. But imagine if you took a tablet and it made you blind. You're going to tell me you're blind now. Imagine how you'd feel then. You think, well, at least they saved some money. No.
Well, you've got a good excuse.
It's not an excuse, it's a bloody good reason. So that's why they do it, Tom.
Anyhow, I know. Well, I thought about that, but I thought, well, these have never been opened, you know.
But they can't guarantee that. That's the problem.
No, I know. And even, I'll say this, I saved the little bottles, you know, the little bottles that you get tablets in.
Yeah.
They throw them away.
I know they do. They used to ask for those back.
That's right.
But it's like milk bottles. The cost of cleaning them, apparently, is greater than the cost of getting some new ones.
Well, I could clean them for them if they wanted, before they went.
I'm not... Well, and dust them off?
Yeah, well, wash them out, you know.
Wash them out. The one I find really extraordinary, and I don't know whether they still do it, but when you go into hospital, if you take the medication with you that you've been taking at home under the orders of your GP, they take it from you, get their own doctors to prescribe whatever their own doctors think, which is often including that which you're getting, and they chuck that away.
Yeah, well... Having said that, the brother-in-law went in hospital and they said, you're taking wrong tablets. He'd been taking them for years.
Well, they said they're the wrong one?
Coming out either.
Oh, dear.
So that was a tragedy.
And when they say taking the wrong ones, what?
Yeah, he was checking for blood pressure and this, that and the other. He'd had a heart bypass and other troubles. He's been troubled over the years, you know. And he went in for this hip operation and... he died, to put it short. He was doing all right, and then all of a sudden, they had to put him in intensive care.
Oh, my word.
And he seemed to be picking up, but after about a fortnight, he died. So that was a tragedy, really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ah, well, it's a cruel world sometimes. Anyway, Tom, that's why they destroy them, mate.
All right.
Have a good day. That doesn't mean you should destroy them for them. Let them take them away and do it.
Well, that's what I said to the doctor. I said I'll throw him in dustbin. Oh, don't do that.
Don't do that, for crying out loud. Don't flush him down the loo either. We don't want to be eating fish with your medicine.
No.
Have a good day, Tom.
All right.
Ta-ra now. He's finally found it, as Keith in Blackpool couldn't operate a computer to save his flaming life. Anyway, he's found the picture of Beswick underground, and he says, "Thanks, Alan. Can't really see why I bothered." And try relaxing when you're having your picture taken. It looks like you're on the early morning strain. I think I know what you mean by that. I'd like to tell you that I don't like having my photograph taken at all. I've never liked it. I'm not going to start liking it. And as regards looking a bit worried, I was 150 metres underground. I was in a bloody tube, underground, surrounded by salt, and people saying things like, if we turn the lights off in here, you know, it's really, really dark. Exactly. So don't be giving... That's why I look like that. I'm bloody terrified. Sylvia in Clifton. Hiya, Sylvia.
Oh, hi, Alan.
Hiya. What can we do for you?
Right, I was paying a pay point for my TV licence.
Okay, yeah.
And I'd finished paying for it because at the end of this month, that's when it's due.
Mm.
And then I thought, I don't want to carry on doing that. I want to do a direct debit.
Right.
So I phoned them up and applied for direct debit.
Yep.
And she was taking all the information. She said, yes, that's fine. She said, so for the first 6 months, you'll be paying £22, whatever it was. So I said, why? So she said, because you pay 6 months in advance.
Yep.
Oh, did you know that?
I did, yes.
Oh, well, I didn't.
The television licence is, you pay for it in advance. You don't pay it for it at the end of the year, you pay for it at the beginning of the year. And so when you go on to direct debit, the agency that collects it, it's not actually the BBC, but that's who the money goes to in the end. So what happens is they say, well, you give us 6 months and pay it over 6 months, and we'll allow you to borrow the money, if you like, for the 11 months. So we'll allow you 11 months without a licence, and then 10 months without a licence. Do you know what I mean? As you pay bit by bit, and after 6 months, you've then paid for the licence that you've been using, but you've paid for the year, you've been using it for 6 months, so that's how it works.
That's gone right over my head.
OK, well, basically, you're supposed to pay in advance, so what you should really do is give them the 138 quid, is it?
That's right, yeah.
You give them because I've just bought mine, you give them the 138 quid, and that entitles you to watch and listen and all the rest of it for 12 months. Now, technically, if you pay for it monthly, then OK, on the first month you pay, let's just say 10 quid to keep the figures round, yeah? You pay 10 quid. Well, that means you've not got a licence anymore.
But I thought, like, I've just paid up. Haven't I just paid in advance for next year?
I don't know how it works with PayPoint, but no, it would...
Yes, I'm sure.
Well, it would seem. So what you need to do is not talk to the direct debit people, but talk to PayPoint and find out what's going on there. Because I don't think... I mean, I could be wrong here, because it's not my specialist subject by any stretch, but I don't think paying by PayPoint... I'm not sure how PayPoint works in that respect. I don't know is the simple answer. On the face of it, what you say makes sense, that if you've just finished paying with PayPoint, you're paid up front.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
if PayPoint works on the basis of they buy the licence and you repay them, do you follow me?
Yeah.
Then no. So if PayPoint buys, you say to PayPoint, I'm going to pay my licence over 12 months for the next 12 months, and they say, OK, we'll go out and buy it, and then you repay us.
Right.
You're repaying the money for the licence that you've been using. The licence has been bought, but you're, for want of a better term, paying back the loan with PayPoint, if that's how it works. The other way round, with direct debit, you pay in advance, effectively, but only for 6 months rather than 12. So you need to sort out, you need to discover the PayPoint element of paying your licence. And if it is, as you say, that you've bought the licence, the way we'd find that out is by going back to the first day you made a payment with PayPoint.
Right.
And finding out...
Well, this morning they've sent me my money back.
Who?
TV licensing. I've got a check here.
But which money have they sent back?
All the money for the cost of my licence.
Yeah, I know that money, but have they said, presumably because you've only ever paid by PayPoint, they've sent back the money you've paid by PayPoint?
Must have been, yeah.
So hang on, did you tell PayPoint that you didn't want to use them anymore?
No, didn't think you had to.
I don't understand why the BBC has sent you your money back if they didn't know...
Oh, well, the letter says the attached cheque is a refund of payments due to you as you are no longer a member of TV Licensing Savings Card Scheme.
Ah, right. I think it turns out that you've been paying PayPoint, and one of the things you've been doing is, I don't know how they found out you're not a member, but I suppose registering for direct debit is how they found out.
Right, yeah.
So they're correct in what they've done. What you've been doing with PayPoint, as I suggested, is you've paid for the licence for year one somehow, but you've borrowed. You've paid for the licence. Oh God, this is a mess. I'm trying to make it in language that doesn't sound like a bloody accountant. So here we are at the beginning of the year. All right,
right,
the beginning
yeah.
of
Yeah.
Now, at that moment when you began with PayPoint, you must have had a valid television licence.
Yeah.
For the coming year.
That's right, yeah.
And then you started to pay PayPoint, which was a process by which you saved up for the second year's licence. Are you with me?
Yeah.
So you've got your licence that you'd already paid for via whatever process, and you then decided, well, all I want to do now, I don't want this bill of 130 quid every year, so I'm going to pay every week, every month, via PayPoint for my licence, so that when the bill comes in next year, I'll have the cash there to buy it. Okay? That's how it sounds to me. So
no, not with PayPoint, no. I don't know, I mean, I have the cash there. No, it's already...
No, it's not cash that you draw out, but... Look, when you started to pay PayPoint,
yeah,
right, at that minute, at that second, did you have a television licence with a year to run?
No.
No, you didn't have one.
At the...
So your television licence had just...
the same where I am now, ready to start the next year.
So your television licence for the year you were about to start, the television licence had expired, and you didn't have a licence for that year?
No, I'm sorry. Yeah, I was covered for the licence. I was doing this at the post office, and then I got a licence through, and I was covered.
Right.
And I thought, well, you couldn't do it at the post office, so then I started doing it at the PayPoint.
That's it. So you had a licence.
Yeah.
It was due to run until the end of that year.
That's right,
But you immediately began to save for the next licence with PayPoint.
That's right, yeah.
Okay. So you now reach the point where your licence has expired, you've got 130-odd quid saved up with PayPoint, which would enable PayPoint to be used to pay for the licence for the coming year.
Right.
You then got in touch with the direct debit people and said, I want to pay by direct debit, and they say, OK. So what happens then is you pay an extra amount for the first 6 months because the licence they're going to sell you is not being paid for with the PayPoint money. So the TV Licensing Authority have had the money delivered to them by PayPoint, have now sent it back to you because you're not buying next year's licence with the PayPoint money, you're buying it with direct debit. All right?
Yeah.
So that's what's happened. You would end up, if PayPoint had gone ahead and purchased next year's licence, when you went to the direct debit, they would have said, well, you can't, you've already got one. Okay?
Right.
So that's it.
So where am I now? Cause
Well, you've got 138 quid to spend.
Yes, I know, but I haven't got a licence
Well,
for next year.
did you agree to make the payments with direct debit?
No, I told them to stick it. I was going to pay 6 months in advance.
Okay, well, what has happened is that something's gone wrong in the communication because you've now got 138 quid money, put it in your bank and buy a licence with it at the post office.
You can't, can you?
Well, wherever you buy it. Just go along and say, there's 138 quid, give us the licence.
Could I go to PayPoint? Because they're telling me to destroy my card that I had with PayPoint.
Yes, well, that card is finished. They've somehow got wind that you're cancelling that process of payment.
Yeah.
And so they didn't, because you, in their view, cancelled it before they used the money to buy the licence, for next year, you've not got the licence, but you have got the money. So you can actually go out now and buy a licence.
Right.
All right? And you can do that on the net and a variety of other places.
All right.
All right.
Yeah, OK, thanks, Alan.
Cheers. 0161 228 2255. Listen, this is my money we're messing about with here. It's just gone 1:20 on BBC Radio Manchester. News headlines. Faye Rusco.
Police are searching 2 houses in Blackburn this lunchtime after 3 men from East Lancashire were arrested on suspicion of committing terrorist offences. 2 of them were detained at Manchester Airport. 2 young men have lost their lives after their stolen car crashed and overturned in Cheadle Hulme in the early hours of this morning. And Greater Manchester Police have admitted they are seriously concerned that the force has only met 3 of 17 targets for reducing crime in the first quarter of this year. Manchester's weather cloudy with sunny spells and the odd shower, highs of 19 Celsius.
BBC Radio Manchester 2020 traffic.
Well, traffic's queuing on the M60 at the moment because of a broken down lorry obstructing a lane on the exit slip at junction 24 at Denton Island. The outside lane of the 4 has been closed at the top of the slip just before you reach the roundabout, and traffic's backing up onto lane 1, the inside lane of the main carriageway. It's still heavy on the M6 as well, southbound between 20 at Lymm and 18 Middlewich. And don't forget, if you can update us further, call in on 0161 244 4951. I'm Cara Banks.
2020 traffic means you get an update every 20 minutes through the day.
I'm sorry I did it now. I'm sorry I put them photographs on the flaming internet. I've never been a fan of the internet. I don't know why I did it. And I'm sorry I did. I'm mithering. Keith says, why is the little guy in a van doing? What's he doing? I know it's not you, because he's got a white helmet. Who? Exactly. I'm crying out loud. Let me know. He's not doing anything. He's sitting in the van. I don't know why he's sitting in the van. No, right. Oh, I see. Right then. Well, the one sitting behind the driving seat, he's the driver. And the white helmet you referred to, that's not a person, it's an helmet on the dashboard. And I don't know what you were implying, but I don't like it. Anyway, Derek in Lee, I don't believe in God. Join the club. I don't believe in God, but I'll gladly get down on my knees and pray to a non-existent almighty if he could persuade Batman to get down off the M25 gantry and sign for Manchester City. After last night's debacle, they desperately need someone who single-handedly managed to bring the South East to a standstill after such a superhuman feat. Sorting out the shambles at Eastland would be a doddle. Well, he'd make a good goalie, wouldn't he, if you stop all them cars in a no trouble stopping a ball. A superhuman feat is entirely, of course, what he's got, that Phelps waller. Superhuman feat. Like we said, the Olympics, it's a play, it is a parade of the weirdos. A parade of the deformed. A parade of the freaks. That's the Olympic Games, I'm telling you. 0161 228 2255. Neil says, nice photo of the mines, by the way. You look kind of orange. You could fill in on Flog It or something, looking that colour. Yeah, it is kind of orange, because that was the safe haven, as it's called, the place you run to when it all goes pear-shaped. And it's illumined by, yeah, that's it, by orange light. So that's why I look orange. It's not because I've been on the sun lamp. I don't do sun lamps. Neil says, if Jesus was here, he'd turn 1 litre of petrol into 1 million for each and every one of us, thereby offsetting the congestion charge for us all. Yeah, but would he vote for it or against it? He won't bother voting, was he? He wants a Democrat, Jesus. He wasn't. Oh, yeah, I'm not saying he wasn't a good person. If we all make an effort and pray really hard, can we get it back to £0.50 a gallon? How long ago was that? It was 5 bob a gallon in the 1960s. I don't remember £0.50 a gallon. Well, I hope I don't remember £0.50 a gallon, because that would be very, very old. Alan, originally I was neutral on the conflict between Russia and Georgia, but now I've done a bit of research. I'm in support of Russia. South Ossetia desires to be part of Russia. An agreement was reached shortly after Georgia became independent that it and another region would be autonomous of Tbilisi. Tbilisi, for the record, is the capital of Georgia. Georgia violated this several days ago and, according to Moscow, committed ethnic cleansing. The majority of the South Ossetians are Russian citizens. Therefore, Russia's actions can be justified because it was protecting its people. I feel that the blatant propaganda poured out by the BBC and other news sources is ridiculous. The big bad Russian bear attacked tiny defenceless Georgia without actually saying what happened to prompt the war. Russia's politicians can't be owned by big business, which is the reason there is so much opportunism for Russia from Western politicians. Putin and most other Russian politicians are nationalists. They believe in putting their country first. and won't capitulate to pressure from unfriendly nations or organisations, while ours are bent and have sold the British people down the river to the EU Soviets. That's Ted in Moston. Well, yeah, I balk at the suggestion that the BBC are saying that the Russia are all bad and Georgia are all good, and frankly, they had no right to invade, or indeed not given the reasons to invade. I actually said earlier that Georgia, in my view, do not come out of this cleanly, for they too were up to wicked things in South Ossetia. And if you're wondering how I know that, well, I didn't fly over there at the weekend and ask the people of that land. I found out from the BBC. So to say that we're not saying it when I've heard them say it and repeated it is a bit bizarre, but there you are. Karen in Manchester, hiya.
Hi, Alan.
What can we do for you?
Well, what's happened is I work for a large company, and basically it's about the holidays that we have. What happens is that the system runs from your birthday till your birthday the following year. Okay, so for example, my birthday is 21st of August, so I have my 4 weeks to take until the following 21st. What's happened this year is my holiday entitlement, I basically have took 1 week of my holiday, so I've had 2 weeks left to take. But I've been off sick from work for the last 6 weeks. And previous to that, whenever you try to book a holiday, it always gets rejected because the holidays aren't great. Basically, it's very difficult to get one. But what they've told me now that I've came back is that I'm basically going to lose 1 week of my holidays. They're going to allow me to carry over 1 week and lose the other week without pay. Is there anything that I can do?
Well, the first thing to do is to find out your rights in the matter.
Yeah.
And we used to talk before the working time agreement that we decided to adopt. We used to talk about holiday pay, and you were entitled in many work situations to holiday pay. You're now entitled to holiday, paid holiday, and that's entirely different to holiday pay. So it's now called statutory holiday. Now, the rights for that are fairly straightforward in essence, and that is you're entitled to a given number of holidays per year. And those are days, not weeks. You're entitled to a given number per year. And it works out around 5 weeks, but by the time you start taking out the bank holidays, it leaves you with about 4. Yeah? Now, you have the right to take those, but that right can be, I think it's 4.8. Yeah, you have the right to take 4.8 weeks paid holiday a year. Now, whether that you're entitled to that holiday despite the time off sick, I don't know. But I do know people that do, and they are the government department that deals with it. Now, the Citizens Advice Bureau will give you specific answers. Alternatively, you can get information from... Do you have access to the internet?
Yeah.
Then if you go onto the government website, they will tell you as well.
Okay.
All right, so you can work out from there what your rights to holiday are and how they work, because the first thing you described, the process you described of how you accrue holidays, strikes me as not being entirely in keeping with the rules.
Right.
So, I mean, what used to happen was some employers said, well, what we're going to do, we're going to make you work a year and then you can have holidays. Well, they can't do that anymore.
No.
So you need to work that out. Now, how much paid holiday you can take, it's easy. If you work a 5-day week, you're entitled to 24 days paid holiday a year. That's 4.8, as I say. The maximum, and you need to discover how your sick leave affects that, but also you need to discover about the accrual of those holidays, how you earn the right to them in a year. All right?
Okay.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Okay. 0161 228 2255. If you've got the answer to that, do feel free and tell me, because that will, of course, help Karen, and that's what we're about, really. The right to choose your holiday dates, well, providing you give your employer the right notice and you take into account the agreements between you and them, then you can take them at virtually any time. But it does involve, there is an element of notice and all the rest of it. And, of course, there are many, many reasons why you will not be allowed to take a holiday at specific times. Because, well, here we go. Because employers have to keep working 20... You imagine in this, if we all said, right, everybody in the building's having their day off, there'd be no BBC here, and that would be lethal. If you're off sick, you will usually be entitled to build up paid holiday from work. I've just found this on the net. However, if you're on long-term sick, you may lose the right. If you've been on long-term sick and are worried about your rights to build up paid holiday, you should seek help straight away from an experienced advisor. Now, I don't know whether 6 weeks constitutes long-term sick. I would hazard a guess that it does not, but that's the issue. So normally, if you're off sick, you're still accruing the period that you're off sick and not working. You're still accruing your holiday entitlement. But if you're off sick for a long time, long-term sick, then that's different. It changes. Talking about Burks that we think should be killed, I never said Chris in Middleton. I never said that they should be killed. I said I'm not bothered if they get killed, which is different. If they get killed in the pursuance of their stupidity, whether it's climbing mountains or stealing cars. I hope the Burke dressed as Batman cavorting over the M25 falls and gets killed because he's preventing this father from seeing his son, who's on a rare weekend leave from serving the country in the army on his way home from Portsmouth. So that's Chris in Middleton. You see? So there's the Fathers for Justice Pratt on top of a gantry on the M25, knockering the traffic in the southeast to protest at his inability to see his child, and thus screwing up somebody else's ability to see their child. See, there's always consequences, and they don't always fall on the perpetrators, which is a damn shame. Your memory fails. In 1967, I was paying 3 and 4pence a gallon for 95 octane for my minivan. It used to cost me £1 to get from Portsmouth to Chesterfield. Everybody's talking about Portsmouth. 240 miles and £1 back. Was it? So 3 and 4 a gallon. I thought I remembered 5 bob a gallon. Well, there you are. I'm quite happy. BAE Systems have gone green and are producing ethical bullets. They now produce lead-free eco bullets. It's nice to know when you're dying, knowing that the bullet that does for you is environmentally friendly. They're also making a whole range of environmentally friendly warfare items like quieter bombs to cut down on noise pollution, smoke-free hand grenades and hybrid engines for armoured vehicles. It's a real comfort to know that while we're maiming and killing Johnny Foreigner, we're doing our bit for the environment. But they are still throwing really bad stuff at our lads. Makes me proud and tearful. Thank you for that. Yeah. It is weird. Some of the regulations are weird. I remember, and I think this was to do with one of the elements of the Geneva Convention, but the army, everything has to be cleaned. Everything has to be cleaned within it. Well, it used to be. I'm not sure it's the same, but it used to have to be cleaned within an inch of its life. And we were prohibited from cleaning the blade of our bayonets with Brasso, because, I kid you not, because we were told this by the drill sergeants and all them clowns. We were told that you weren't allowed to clean your bayonet with Brasso, because if you stabbed anybody with it, like a foreign invader, then if he didn't die from the stabbing, he might die from poisoning, from blood poisoning, from the bayonet. Now, first of all, that's somewhat offensive to Brasso, which may not cause those things. But that's what they told us. They said you can't do that because then you're using a chemical weapon. I suppose what we should have said was, well, look, we'll carry on Brasso in them, but we'll guarantee if we stick it in anybody, they'll die there and then, so that they die of being stabbed. Why do you die of being stabbed? I mean, I know you don't. The same with shot. Why does it die? I know if it hits an organ and the organ stops working, you die from organ failure. Like if it hits your heart, then instead of pumping the blood round you, it sort of squirts it all around the inner cavity of your body, and so you snuff it, because the other bits, the brain and all that, aren't getting the blood, it's coming out the hole. I understand that. But if you get stabbed in the belly, why do you die from that? What kills you? I've often wondered that. I don't know why I just suddenly thought of it, but I've often wondered that. What kills you? Because it's not... Like, if they stab you in the stomach, well, all right, next time you eat your dinner, it'll fall on the floor through the hole. So you'd eventually starve to death, wouldn't you? Because it's not going through your stomach to your bum. So that's fine. But why do you die straight away? Yeah. Even if you see it coming, you might die of fright. If you don't see it, you see it coming, whoa, my God, and you die. But you don't always see it coming. So you don't die of fright. So what do you die of if you're stabbed? It's weird. No, these are the Christian... You know when you're driving a long way and you're fed up of listening to the radio, or you're fed up of listening, in my case, to Leonard Cohen, because he's not good to drive with, I tell you. Oh, he's coming, by the way. Tickets went on sale this morning. Leonard Cohen, yeah, he's coming to the Manchester News Arena. I don't think I'll go. I think it's a bit not very intimate, isn't it, really, that? 75 quid to see Leonard Cohen about 1.5 inches high in the distance. No, I don't think so. I don't think I'll bother with that. I was quite close at the at the Opera House. You know, you could see him. I mean, obviously you can hear him, but I don't like concerts at the MEN, really. And if you're dead unlucky, you end up sat sideways on, you come out with RSI in your neck. Where was I? Yeah. So when you're driving along long ways and your mind starts to wander, that's the kind of thing I wonder to. And I think, I wonder why you die when you're stabbed. I never come up with answers, obviously. 20 to 2. BBC Radio Manchester News Headlines. Michelle Adamson.
Police are continuing to question 3 men in their 20s arrested in the northwest over terror offences. Greater Manchester Police have admitted they're seriously concerned the force has met only 3 of the 17 targets for reducing crime in the first quarter of this financial year. The British commander in Iraq says things have improved so much in the south of the country that most troops should return home within a year. Manchester's weather cloudy with sunny spells this afternoon and the odd shower. Highs of 19 Celsius.
BBC Radio Manchester 2020 traffic.
Well, if you're using the M60 anti-clockwise, traffic's queuing up because of a broken-down lorry at junction 24 Denton Island. The outside lane of the 4 is closed at the top of the exit slip just before the roundabout. Traffic's backing up in lane 1, the inside lane of the main carriageway. And it's still looking delayed on camera on the M6 southbound between 20 at Lymm and 18 Middlewich. Those vehicles that were involved in a collision earlier between those 2 junctions have long since been cleared, but traffic's still queuing up. And in Alderley Edge, the A34 Wilmslow Road looking fairly heavy around Riley's Lane owing to roadworks nearby. Don't forget though, if you can update me further, call in on 0161 244 4951. I'm Cara Banks.
BBC Radio Manchester Sports with Bill Rice.
Good news for Manchester United. Their striker Wayne Rooney will be fit for the start of the Premier League season against Newcastle on Sunday. Sir Alex Ferguson has confirmed Rooney is available for selection after recovering from a virus he picked up in their pre-season tour of Nigeria. Fergie is also angry about the fixture list and how many times that United will be away from home following midweek Champions League games. Well, United have set their sights on becoming the first side to retain the Champions League title. Midfielder Darren Fletcher has told BBC Radio Manchester that's just one of the goals they've set themselves ahead of the Premier League kick-off this weekend.
The hunger is definitely around the squad, and the manager said that he'll make sure that all of us have still got that hunger. We want to do things that no other team's done. No one's ever defended the Champions League. That's a challenge in itself. To win the Premiership 3 times in a row, we know it's going to be difficult, but with the big squad we've got, there'll be so much competition for places that we'll push each other on.
Manchester City manager Mark Hughes has told BBC Radio Manchester that he won't give up on bringing Roque Santa Cruz to Eastlands. Blackburn have turned down an offer from City for their striker yesterday, and Hughes is determined to get his man, with Benjani, Darius Vassell and Ched Evans all struggling, and with Joe still on Olympic duty with Brazil. The Bolton boss Gary Megson says reaching 40 points is their main target for this season. Wanderers finished on 37 points last year, only one clear of the drop zone.
The short-term aim is to try and beat Stoke on Saturday. The long-term aim, hopefully it's short rather than long, but we want to get to 40 points as quickly as we can, and if we can do that, then we reassess from that point onwards, but not until then, because if you look last year, we didn't even manage that.
Bolton begin their season against one of Megson's former clubs, Stoke, at the Reebok tomorrow. Striker Heider Helgeson has been ruled out, though, with a hernia problem. Wigan manager Steve Bruce hasn't ruled out a top 10 finish for his team, having invested in the squad again. That was the target set by his chairman Dave Whelan, and Bruce thinks it's possible.
Bolton and Blackburn have done it in less fashionable clubs, as you say, no disrespecting them. They've done it over the years. Why not? Why not could it be a Wigan? We've got some good players, and we did very, very well the back end of last season. Can we produce that again and get players playing at their maximum?
Jamie Staff, Jason Kenny and Chris Hoy have won Britain's third gold at the Olympic Games.
Hoy comes into the finishing straight now. It's going to be really close. Will it be gold? It will be gold! And what a start for the British cycling team on the track. Chris Hoy brings home the bacon. Once again, Great Britain start off in blistering style.
Yeah, the Manchester-based trio were in scintillating form today. They beat France in the team sprint, in what we hope will be the first of an avalanche of medals for the cycling team over the next few days. In the qualifying round of the individual pursuit, Bradley Wiggins has broken his own Olympic record, and Team GB are guaranteed at least another 2 medals. In sailing's Finn class, Ben Ainsley will win at least a silver, as will the women's Yingling team. All 3 of the world's fastest men have qualified, as expected, for the semi-finals of the 100-metre sprint. World record holder Usain Bolt strolled through in 9.92 seconds. Asafa Powell and Tyson Gay are also through, as is Britain's Tyrone Edgar. He was third in his heat. Live to Old Trafford now. It's the final day of the Roses match between Lancashire and Yorkshire in the County Championship. Chris Malaband has the latest.
Yorkshire are 361 for 6, leading Lancashire by 130 runs. They've got 10 overs left to try and secure their 5th and final batting point, which they'll get if they make 400. Bresnan is on 26 and Adil Rashid on 2. It's been Yorkshire's day, despite 4 wickets for Lancashire, which have brought them at least 2 bowling bonus points. Gale made 136, Lyth 1, Rudolph 54 and Brophy 14. They're the men to go. Andrew Gale with an excellent 100, Rudolph being picked up by Francois Duplessis, who's taken 3 wickets. The likelihood here is that Darren Gough will declare after 130 overs, have a lead of around about 170, and then try and see if Adil Rashid can bowl Lancashire out on the final afternoon in the remaining 50 overs or so. Could be an intriguing finish, 361 for 6.
In rugby union, Sale Sharks new boy Christian Ormsby will join up with the squad at Carrington next week. The Sharks director of rugby, Philippe Saint-André, says he'll make one last signing on Monday. St Helens International Centre Matt Gidley has put pen to paper on a 1-year contract extension. The 31-year-old Australian has made 60 appearances in 2 highly successful years at the club so far. Wigan Warriors will give a late fitness test to standoff half Trent Barrett ahead of tonight's Super League game against Wakefield Trinity. Kick-off in that one is 8 o'clock, and we'll have full match commentary in Manchester Sports, which starts at 7. And Manchester Phoenix have signed the Canadian right-winger Kyle Bruce from Wichita Thunder.
No idea what his politics have got to do with it, but there you are. He's a right-winger. What do we know?
Your Sunday Morning Lion with Mike Shaft.
You mentioned that you lead worship. What does that entail?
It's literally just providing a clear guide through an act of worship. What we're starting to see is people who maybe aren't so gifted in preaching, but are able to get a flow through the worship times with the sung worship.
Mike Shaft.
Tell us about Workshop.
Workshop began with the idea of creating an environment where Christians could think through and engage with the really big questions of their faith and create a holistic understanding of faith.
Manchester's faith, spirit and life's difficult questions with Mike Shaft.
This wasn't planned, but it's going to happen.
Sunday morning from 7 on BBC Radio Manchester.
A very good day to you. How are you? 0161 228 2255. So the Premiership's back tomorrow. So that's another 10 months of listening to Ferguson whinge, listening to Hughes explain and reassure that they do care about football, really. And Megson wonder where the next point's coming from. I, for one, can't wait. Oh, yes I can.
Talking sense every lunchtime. Allan Beswick and you.
BBC Radio Manchester.
Very good day to you. All right. Is that a somewhat perverse view of it all? I suppose it is. Keith says, all those gastric juices, including hydrochloric acid, that makes a real mess of the stomach cavity because it looks like meat that you shovel down your neck. Also, you can bleed quite heavily. Thank you. Oh, I see. Yeah. You only got 8 pints of blood, and that will fill the stomach cavity quite quickly. So that's why you die when you're stabbed. What is stupid, he says, mainly in the films, is throwing a knife at someone has very little chance of killing them stone dead. Well, he's right there, isn't it? Because the first thing it's got to do is hit. And throwing a knife, they're not that accurate unless you work in a circus. And I'm not going back to the naked lady with the spots and the ice. But unless you work in a... Well, that was the fair anyway. Unless you work in a circus as a knife thrower, then your chances of it hitting are very slim indeed. And even if it hits, then it's got... No, this is the other thing. When you throw a knife trying to kill someone, not only has it got to hit them, but it's got to hit them with a pointy bit first. So that's another thing. So you got the throwing, and you got... So, oh, I missed. You know, like a darts player. Like, I missed. And then you've got the throwing, and, well, I've hit him, but it was the blunt end. So he's got a terrible bruise, but he's still running about. So then you got to get the pointy, or even sideways on. I mean, if you think about a knife, it's got a pointy end, and then there's a lot of other bits to the knife. The overwhelming majority of the knife is not the pointy end. You got the side, you got the edge, you got the other side, you got the other edge, you got the end that's not the handle end, bump like that, bruise, exactly. So not only have you got to get it so that it hits him, or her, you've got to get it so it hits him with the pointy end, or her at the pointy end, and then it's got to hit him enough to go in, so you've got to have the right you've got to go in far enough to do any good, otherwise you've just got like a pinprick, a little bigger than a pinprick, but a pinprick nonetheless. And then, no, somebody just walked in as I said prick. Pinprick, I said. I don't want letters. So they were in like that. And then, you've got the other thing, is it's got to hit a bit that really does the harm. No, I don't mean the arm, I mean the harm. It's got to hit a bit that does the harm. Not just the arm, hitting the arm's no good, you've got to hit the body. Ideally, right in the heart, and then you've got to make sure it never hit a rib. So he's right. It's very hard to throw a knife at someone and kill them with the knife that you threw. I mean, if you threw the knife and then shot them, that'd do it. But to have the knife to be the killing agent, it'd have to be... the odds are against it. The odds are... Don't try this at home. Fred in Warrington.
Oh, don't make me laugh like that.
No, I won't.
Because let me coughing.
Sorry.
How often do you travel from Butts Bridge to the Greyhound?
Which bit's Butts Bridge?
In the direction of Warrington, or coming from Warrington. Butts Bridge to the Greyhound by the...
I know the guy. Which bit's Butts Bridge? I can never... Oh, I know. Yeah, in Lee.
That's right, yeah.
Yeah.
So, I thought you'd know that area.
Yeah, not very often, really.
No. Well,
only when I'm going to...
But what reminded me was the fact that you were talking about the curb crossings.
Oh, yeah.
And, about 6 or 8 months ago, the council went down there. All the houses that were still owned by the council, they've demolished the front walls, rebuilt them, put them in a lovely driveway in, double gate.
Oh, I saw that. Yes, I've seen that. They're doing all sorts of things, aren't they?
Beautiful, yes.
Oh, well, I don't know about your sense of beauty is different to mine, Fred. But they're certainly done well.
Haven't they just?
Yeah.
The trouble is they're not using them. I travel up there about twice a week to the Butts Bridge area. And the most I've counted there to actually using those new facilities, 5.
5?
Yeah, out of about 30.
So all the other cars are on the street?
All they're still on the street, yeah.
But what's the next step?
Well...
I've always got to look for the next step, Fred.
Definitely.
What's the next step?
Well, your guess is as good as mine, I reckon.
Double yellow lines.
Yeah.
Double yellow lines.
Yes, well,
and then when they're all whining and saying, "Hang on a minute, what are we going to do? We'll give you a drop pavement, and you can drive in your house."
Yeah, exactly.
So that's where you're going. Get in there. Get it off the road, for crying out loud. And then they'll have that big bit of road because it's quite wide.
It is a wide road.
Quite wide.
Yep.
You can see them putting a middle lane in.
Oh yeah. Hey, good thinking.
Well,
good thinking there.
That's what I'm here for. A middle lane.
Yeah. Talking of thinking, did you know that they're changing the
the gardens at Buckingham Palace? I've heard the song.
No. The Old Trafford Cricket Ground. Into a paddling. It went to a boating pool.
Into a boating pool.
Yeah. Well, I heard on Monday.
Well, they're doing bugger all with it as a cricket ground at the minute.
I know. Well, I heard on Monday that there'll be no cricket played there today because of the deep paddles on the pitch.
Oh, very good. That's because we've employed somebody posh.
Exactly.
We try not to do it. They've got deep paddles, you know.
Yeah, paddles, yeah.
Yeah.
And did they tell you about the Winter Salt Mine being flooded while you were down there?
Oh, go on.
Well, 1972, I think it was.
Hang on, yes.
It was flooded.
It was. And I know why it was flooded. And I know a man that... I interviewed a man whilst I was down there who was actually in the mine when it flooded.
Yeah.
Now, this is interesting because it flooded with brine.
It did, indeed.
Because they struck a brine pit.
Yep.
Or a brine thing.
Yeah.
Sinkhole, I think they're called.
That's right.
Anyway, it struck a brine. Now, had it struck ordinary salt-free water... that would have knackered the mine.
It would.
Because the water came in, the water would have come in, and it would have dissolved the salt.
Yeah.
But because it was already brine, when the water came into the mine, it was already brine, it didn't react with the walls. So the mine still works.
Yep.
And the bloke told us that they went round there in rowing boats.
That didn't surprise me.
They went round there. I don't know how they got them down, but he said they went round there in rowing boats. Yeah. Amazing.
Yep, absolutely.
I'm glad I wasn't there then.
Yeah, exactly. But I was due to go down there for a visit into the mine because my late wife used to be a nurse for ICI who owned it at the time.
Oh, they owned it, yeah.
Yeah, and it was all arranged for me to go down, but this flood... And you get it up, didn't it?
Yeah, it did. As you say, 40 years ago. Because this bloke I was talking to, he's worked there for 40 years, and he started there, and a few weeks later, he was going round it in a rowing boat because it flooded. But what they do now, when they're surveying, because he's now the surveyor, he's really progressed, but he's the surveyor, and it's an important job on the ground, is that?
Yeah.
But when they survey now, they have maps, of course, of where all these brine pits and wells and water courses are, and what they used to do was block them off.
That's right.
But what they actually do now is they go round them. And they leave a huge... because salt's quite cheap, so they leave a huge lump of rock, as it were. So they go right round it, avoiding it altogether, thus eliminating the risk of bringing it down.
And thanks to a really great telephone pole, they rammed down the hole to stop the flood. That's how they cured it.
Well, they did. They put all sorts down there, didn't they? They tried everything.
They did.
Yeah.
To finish it off with a telephone pole, which they rammed down, it swelled with the water, and hey presto.
Fabulous.
And it just...
So it's the finger in the dike syndrome, isn't it?
Just, yeah.
Yeah, I'm not doing the gag, are you? Have a good day, Fred.
Thanks, Alan. Bye for now.
0161 228 2255. Yeah, they did. It flooded. And now, before you start getting worried about it, there's no risk of, minimum risk of that now. And I'm also told, although I did have some moment, I was told that it doesn't cave in or anything. And when the bloke said that, I said, hang on a minute, I've seen pictures of houses tipped over on their side. And he said, well, we use a different thing now. We use a different method. And I was kind of reassured, but happy to get up. If you get stabbed in the belly, the bugs in your gut get into the bloodstream and infect something. Something like that anyway. Yeah, I know that. I know about infection. There's all these smart... What I want to know isn't about infection. I know you will die eventually if you get blood poison and all that gubbins. What a lovely subject for lunchtime. And to start your holiday weekend with. But what I want to know is not why do you eventually die of poisoning, but why do you die instantly from a stab wound when it hasn't hit something important, like your heart or your aorta, in which case you bleed to death quite quickly? Why? We should know this, the amount of stabbing that's going on in our country. This should be common knowledge amongst us. Steve in Chorlton, with reference to the comments earlier about Russia having the right to protect its nationals, I'd like to remind your previous caller, emailer, texter, that the old Soviet Union has a history of relocating its nationals into what were other member states of the USSR, in particular, for example, the Ukraine. When Ukraine was taken back to the USSR post-World War II, a large number of Russians were relocated to the Ukraine. Over the years, this meant that certain parts of Ukraine were predominantly Russian. This caused no end of problems, especially during the Orange Revolution, where, in effect, Russians who'd been relocated to the Ukraine tried to steer the Ukraine to ally with Russia rather than with the EU, the West, which is what the Ukrainians wanted. Should Russia have invaded Ukraine to protect those Russians too? The great problem with history, European and others, but particularly European, as soon as you start to scratch the surface, you find nothing but duplicity, lies, cheating, and what you might call fluid and often vacuous boundaries. Ian in Liverpool, isn't it funny how when the South Ossetians wanted to secede from Georgia, the Russians rush in to help them, whereas when the Chechens wanted to secede from Russia, the Russians labelled them terrorists, blitz the hell out of their capital city, and execute their democratically elected leader. Oh, the fun and joy of international politics. A bunch of crooks lying to a bunch of crooks, and when the lies get found out, they send a load of young men to kill each other until we all get pissed off with watching them die and get those same bunch of lying, two-faced, hypocritical gits to negotiate a peace treaty. Such are the joys of international politics. Still, at least it keeps the airport busy, as Anthony Crank will now report, because he's standing in for Becky Want today, but as it's Friday, he, like she would be, is at the airport. See you tomorrow early doors, see you Monday. Ta-ra now!
You already know you shouldn't use your phone whilst driving.
You may have got a